Hey, Harpslingers, welcome to the Harpslinger podcast, where each and every week we hang out with the greatest harmonica players in the music business. If you're watching this on the Hohner Facebook page, make sure you hit that share button. If you happen to be watching this on the Harpslinger YouTube channel, we hope that you'll ding the bell, subscribe. That way we can keep you up to date on all the future content that we have coming up. A lot of stuff coming down the pike. All right, y'all, let's do this. My next guest has been described as the Johnny Appleseed of the harmonica. He's arguably the world's foremost authority on all aspects of the diatonic harmonica and is the most respected diatonic harp technician and customizer in the world. His client list is a who's who of the harmonica elite, and we have him here today on the Harpslinger podcast. Here he is, Mr. Joe Filisko. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a perfect thing to do down here in snowy, icy Joliet, Illinois, and hang out with a cool cat like yourself.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to keep up with you, you know? I mean, look
Oh,
at that
no,
beard.
no.
I have beard envy right now.
This is just neglect, man. This is what you call neglect.
You've left a little space here so you can get the harp in there. I like that. Super cool. Well, you know, as this is the Harpslinger podcast, it's about harmonica and harmonica players. Not just about that, but you know, that's the focus. And I'm always interested to find out, you know, where guys and gals who started playing harmonica, where they started, what was the what was the thing that got them on the path to play harmonica. Now, I read somewhere that your mother was a big fan of harmonicas, and you just happen to have harmonicas laying around the house. Is that pretty factual?
That's definitely true. I can't say that me and the harmonica resulted in anything musical, but I did have them around me. It was kind of a constant reminder. I can recall when the movie with Ralph Macchio came out called Crossroads. That was really like a kind of pushed my hot button, I guess you would say. I remember hearing Sonny Terry's Lonesome harmonica at the beginning of the movie, and it just gave me goosebumps. That my hair just stood up, and I sort of knew that I needed to closely investigate what the heck was going on there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I had the very same experience. That was my "Do you see the light" sort of moment early when I saw that movie. And I wanted to be Ralph Macchio, but I didn't want to play guitar. I wanted to play harp, you know, like Blind Dog Fulton. That's what I wanted. I was like, I want to be that guy. It was so amazing. What a great movie. And I still go back and watch it if it's ever on TV. I'm taking 2 hours. I'm going to watch that movie. I love it.
I'm with you. I own it. I own the DVD, so I can pop it in every now and then. And I don't know. There's something. I was hungry at that point in my life when I first seen it, and it definitely, subdued my appetite for a while and gave me a direction. I was pretty white hot passionate about pursuing blues music at that time after I first seen it. Oof, big influence.
Yeah, big influence for me as well. And a great soundtrack with Ry Cooder playing all over, producing the soundtrack. Just unbelievable stuff. I didn't realize that was Sonny Terry when I was young. I didn't know who Sonny Terry was, right? I thought it was the guy in the movie playing all that stuff. Actually, there is a scene where they're in a real juke joint, and Ralph Macchio's character, loses his cash, loses his gun across the street in the redneck bar, and he comes over to the juke, and whoever the band is that's playing, the gentleman playing harmonica was a real Mississippi blues harmonica player.
Frank Frost.
Frank Frost, that's right. I was like, where are those clubs? I want to go hang out in those clubs. Those clubs look cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, after Crossroads and after your mother was laying these harmonicas around the house, hoping maybe you might pick one up, I mean, the harmonica's taken you literally all over the world. You've been to five continents, countless countries, I'm sure. What's your experience been touring abroad?
I've really, really loved it. I think I could possibly be the most blessed, lucky person that you or anybody knows, considering that the humble little harmonica has taken me countless places. And I am really curious about international world culture. So the idea of going someplace was always very exciting to me. Meeting foreign people, experiencing foreign things,
Mhm.
eating foreign food. And everywhere that I have gone, it really showed me how people want to love Americans. They want to love Americans. And I've also seen a lot of things that make me feel like, we're a pretty entitled culture over here. So it's really helped me to be a lot more humble and have a little, much less judgmental attitude about stuff. Try to ask questions about things, be curious about things,
Mhm.
don't make assumptions about people or, people from foreign cultures.
Right.
And it served me pretty well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I can second that emotion. I've done quite a bit of touring through Europe, mostly German speaking countries, and it's that's been my experience as well. They absolutely uh, love American music and American roots music of all kinds. It seems, and I'm always humbled, as you say. Everyone I meet speaks excellent English for the most part, and they also speak Italian, and they also speak French, and they also speak something else. So there are 4 or 5 languages in to my one, and I'm always just like I feel a little humbled by the whole.
I, I'm telling you, what a wake up call. Yes.
Great way to put it. Great way to put it. Well, touring abroad, you've been teaching abroad as well. So when you're out on these tours, do you also sort of couple with that tour, opportunities for you to be out teaching as well, or are those some things that you try to keep separate? You try to do your music tour and then you try to do a teaching tour, or do you kind of jumble all that together?
Well, I think you well know that in this day and age, it has only become more and more difficult to come out financially ahead. So things have really changed since the sales of CDs really took a nosedive right into the dirt. I mean, there was a time where, you know, um, a third maybe of our half of our touring income might come from CD sales, and that just dried right up almost into nothing. We have our loyal fan base that'll buy
Mm-hmm.
anything that we come out with. So everything is kind of negotiable, or at least it has gotten to be more negotiable. Very often, my duo partner Eric Noden and I, we might do a small tour of the UK based around the Euro blues workshops, Blues Week that they have there, which we have taken part in numerous times, or the Harmonica Masters workshop that Steve Baker sort of is the spear point on in Trossingen in Germany. And very often we would do anywhere from a 3 to 5 week tour, mostly Western Europe. Same thing, mostly around the German speaking countries, but we would get up to Scandinavia and also go as far south as like Croatia.
Okay. Super. Croatia's supposed to be beautiful. I haven't made it there yet.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah. So have you? I imagine you've been to Trossington, to the factory, right? To the Hohner factory.
Numerous times. Yeah,
Numerous
many,
times.
many times. I went the first time as a tourist in when they had the World Harmonica Festival there in 1993, and then I actually got I was there again in 1997 and had I think I did a workshop or something at that point in time. I went because I wanted to go. I felt like this is the hottest possible point for harmonica lunacy, so I needed to be there. And then in 2001, they had the World Festival again, and basically one of the main performers backed out because of some conflicting thing. and they had no budget, and they asked me, "You're going to be here. Do you want to just take this concert spot as a solo harmonica performer?" And I was, well, of course. So, so that was really a big turning point for me. That was really what opened up the European awareness to sort of my flavor of roots harmonica. And then in 2003, that was the first year that Steve Baker put on the Harmonica Masters workshops in Trossingen. And I've basically been there nearly every year since.
Wow. Yeah, I got to check out Trossington. Every time I go over, people are like, "Have you been to the factory?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't." We tried to set up a couple of little tours where we would stop by the factory en route, but they're
Yeah.
always like 8 a.m. concerts that they have for their staff. And as a rock and roll band, that was kind of tough to make the 8 a.m.
But
But yeah, I'm dying to get over there. Now, I know that you and I are both Hohner players. We endorse the product, but you've done so much more with Hohner. And there was a time when Hohner, I guess we can say this. It's public knowledge. There was a time when their product wasn't doing. They had sort of a lull, and you. And along with I think Richard Slay and a group of other guys were really on the point of the spear to sort of get these folks to up their game, and so I was just curious if you might talk a little bit about that, because I do also want to talk a little bit about your customization, how you came around to be doing that. I'm assuming that was out of a need. You felt like you needed to be playing better harmonicas. Can you expound on that just a bit?
I have been basically self-employed aside from the time that I spend 1 day a week teaching at the Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago. And so I was always trying to figure out how to make money from maybe doing some guitar work or guitar lessons or repairing harmonicas or giving harmonica lessons. And I was working at a trophy and awards shop that had a pretty cool engraving machine for engraving brass plaques. And I kind of came up with a design on this brass that I could etch and make harmonica cover plates. I had to fold them all up and fuse them all together. And I also have had access. I basically own a very small one person machine shop. So I had access to some milling machines and stuff. And it was just basically out of curiosity. And I got to do something with my time. I started experimenting, making brass harmonicas. And it kind of caught on in 1992. And the local press did a really nice Sunday front page of the local section part of the newspaper. They did a write-up on me, of which the Associated Press responded by doing another interview, an article on me that ran internationally in English-speaking newspapers around the world. And I just was getting a foothold on how to play respectably well, and had just mostly fearlessness about working on harmonicas. I didn't have all that much experience, but I received a lot of interest, received a lot of orders for these brass harmonicas at that time. And it was just a complete coincidence that probably about 94, maybe late 93, this is when the new harmonicas that were coming off the assembly line were really complete garbage. They were like as playable as a $2 harmonica that you could buy. They really messed up. And so what had happened is the my reputation was a little bit hot at the time because of this press coverage I got, and countless players were seeking me out saying, I got a problem here. I need something. I need something to play, and these are what I'm getting is unplayable.
Hmm.
And it was really I was at the right place at the right time, and I had the right skill set and everything. And so I started really experimenting in trying to put my heart and soul into understanding as intimately as possible the workings of the Marine Band harmonica, because this was the story I heard from nearly everybody. They said, I love the feel and the sound of the Marine Band harmonica. I just can't stand the wood swelling and that sort of thing. So it seemed like a complete no-brainer. I would just throw myself into trying to figure out how to make the Marine Band playable. And it took a couple of years to really get my head around it, but probably by late 96, I was really figuring, I knew what needed to be done to make this thing work. And then by 97, they had figured out what the problem was on their end and were selling reasonably well playing harmonicas again. But I already had the skills happening at that time. And I was working with Richard Slay at that time and with Jimmy Gordon at that time. And we were sort of like we had like a little guild trying to see if we could help support each other in order to see if the dream was possible that there could be a full-time harmonica technician available. And so at that time, things kind of went into different directions, but I had the skill set to make them very playable. And I had made countless contacts in the harmonica world. So the way that really relates to modern times is that Steve Baker mostly is the harmonica politician and the front man that sort of took a lot of the groundbreaking that I did, Richard Slay did, and kind of kept banging at the Hohner door saying, we got to do something and we got to make these harmonicas better. We got to make these harmonicas better. And then it was, I don't know, in the early 2000s, I believe, or somewhere in the 2000s that they came out with the Marine Band Deluxe, followed by the Crossover, which are fantastic. For the most part, these harmonicas are as responsive and as playable as any harmonicas that Hohner ever made at any time, in my opinion. So I'm really happy because now I don't have to feel sorry for someone when they're trying to figure out how to play the thing, and I can tell that the harmonica is putting up roadblocks. They can buy one of these harmonicas and have something pretty good. So that's the story about as fast as I can say it.
Right on. That's great. Well, and in turn, you're supplying, I mean, arguably the greatest harmonica players in the world with their harmonicas. And what I thought was fascinating about that was that you approached the setup for these players just toward whatever their specific needs are. If you're developing or if you're setting up a harp for Howard Levy, it's done a certain way. If you're setting up a harp for Kim Wilson, you're concentrating on different holes, even different reeds, where he spends most of his time playing his music. I thought that was fascinating that you were that detailed, that you dove into. You were not only just setting up the harp, but you're really delving into what kind of a player is Kim Wilson or Howard Levy or whomever, and applying that knowledge to their setup. I think that's fascinating.
I have tried to pay very close attention to the specific needs of the player. And aside from the usual, I want a harmonica to last forever and I want to pay little or nothing for it. Aside from those two things, I try to accommodate their style as much as possible. Yes.
Yeah, right on, right on. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to, I was going to say, without giving away too many trade secrets, for those folks out there that are listening who don't really know what goes into the setup of a professional grade harmonica as that you do, what kinds of things could they expect that you would take, say, their Marine band, and what would you do to it besides tuning it?
The Hohner right now has a affiliated customizer program, which they, fortunately, to my great luck, they put me on top of overseeing. And if you were to order a custom harmonica from any of the gentlemen that are part of this group, you probably would get a harmonica that feels more comfortable in your hands than you've ever felt before, feels more comfortable in your mouth than you've ever experienced before, is in tune more than you've ever experienced before, and is probably more responsive than what you've ever so responsiveness is basically the sound to air ratio. Maybe you could say it's like the equivalent of, going from 0 to 60 in the shortest amount of time. You as a player, you feel like you're not working unnecessarily hard to get it to sound. You play gently, and a lot of sound comes out of it.
Right on. Yes,
Yeah.
I've had the luxury of being able to play some great setup harps. Unfortunately, I've not had a Joe Filisko harp, so I know that list is long and probably a waiting list on there. But maybe one of these days, if I'll throw my name in the hat, and I'll get to experience a Joe Filisko harp.
It's very possible, Jamie. I want you to know that I am becoming a bigger and bigger fan of you in your band, High South. Woo! See, I am a unbelievable fan of acoustic music. If you can do it, then you should be able to either with your guitar in voice, or your harmonica and voice, and maybe body percussion or something. If you can go out and entertain an audience with that, then that really says a lot. There's no tricks, there's no mirrors, no smoke screens involved. You can either do it or you can't. And I feel like that's one thing, part of my own musical vision in my head for what I've been trying to do for years, and the duo that I have with Eric Noden, sort of paying tribute to many early American roots and blues and folk guitar and harmonica styles. I'm really knocked out by what you have going with the two other gentlemen in your band, playing like 3 acoustic guitars. That is so cool, man. I mean, wow. I think, did you play with High South when you came to Spa some years back? Was that the band?
That was High South. I guess
So
that was 4 years ago, right?
So that would be a tragedy on my part that I didn't really get to sit down and concentrate and pay attention, because usually when I'm at any of these harmonica events, which I would encourage anybody to do, if anybody out there in the listening audience thinks of themselves as a huge fan of the harmonica, if they're a little harmonica crazy, you got to check out the Spa harmonica thing. I went for the first time in 1990, and it forever changed the course of my life because of the people that I got to meet there at that event. But usually nowadays I'm volunteering. It's like 2 full-time jobs every day, running from one thing, helping, coordinating. And
Right.
so I think I only got to listen to you and your band with maybe half of an ear
Yeah.
at that point in time. But checking out what you all have been doing, I just have the greatest respect for your music. It's
That's
so fantastic. And you're like a rock star, man. You're the guy that's got the produced videos and these hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. I like, I'm a nobody, man.
Oh, come on.
Like, whoa.
It's interesting that we've run in different worlds, and Spa. Speaking of Spa, was really my first glimpse at the harmonica world, like this sort of this culture that exists, and I didn't know that it existed. And when I got the call from Hohner to do this, of course I said yes immediately. But then I followed it up quickly by saying, "But I'm scared to death." Wait a second, a room full of harmonica players? Like, who's going to be there? He said, "Well, Howard Levy had your slot last year." And I thought, well, that's it. You kill me now. I can't do that. I can't do that. So it was but when we arrived, it was in San Antonio the year that I was there. And excuse me, errant hairs in my mouth. We walked into the the entrance of this hotel, and there were men predominantly men from 18 to 80, and these guys were sitting in circles of 10 and 15 guys in the lobby of the hotel, playing chromatics and playing diatonics, playing all kinds of stuff that I was just really blown away. It was an eye opener, and I just loved it. I loved it. I said I have to come back to Spa and experience the whole weekend that they do. I'm still waiting to do that. I had hoped maybe this year would be a good time, but apparently not with COVID.
Yeah.
Not so much. But Spa is a great thing, and I have to be a part of it at some point again, and just to experience it all.
It's a special event. I've basically gone every year since 1990.
Wow, that's impressive. And I think it floats from city to city, which is super cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and you actually won Harmonica Player of the Year in 2001, awarded to you by Spa.
I did. I'm very proud of that. It's like I said, the event, the festival that they put on, it really was a life-changing experience for me. And then a number of years after that, I really felt like I can contribute a lot to this event and make it more appealing for outside people to get involved and stuff. So I started doing a lot more volunteer work, helping coordinate things, and it's immensely rewarding.
Yeah, right on. I'm glad to hear that. Well, let's talk for a minute. We have something else in common. We're both DeFord Bailey fans, and I know that you had the opportunity to play, I guess it was 2005 or 2006, when DeFord was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. I think the first African-American to be honored. And Charlie McCoy was on the bill. You were on the bill. You played his foxtrot. Fox Chase. I'm sorry. Tell me about that experience. I mean, that coming to Nashville, being in a room full of country music stars. What was that? What was that whole experience like? Were you you were a big DeFord Bailey before that moment, of course, right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
When David Morton put out the book on DeFord Bailey in, I don't know, 93, 92, 93, I just pestered the poor guy because I knew he had other stuff. Yeah. And I felt very starved because I only had these 10, 11 songs that DeFord had out. And I think there was definitely at least one live recording of him at the Grand Ole Opry doing the Fox Chase. And it so baffled me that when I started playing that there was no contemporary players, certainly nobody from Nashville that was playing like DeFord Bailey, and that really puzzled me. So I think of myself, and I think this is probably pretty accurate. I thought of myself as kind of like a cheerleader with a sharp elbow, kind of staying on David Morton. And I think it was really David Morton that was kind of continually stoking the coals, the embers, to keep the memory of DeFord Bailey pretty hot. And then they put out this public television thing, the Legend of DeFord Bailey or something. And it was a 20, 30-minute documentary on DeFord Bailey, talking about his contributions. And not one harmonica player was interviewed for this whole thing. I thought, what is this? This is what? How can this be?
Painful.
So David was finally successful getting Bailey inducted into it, and I was, of course, greatly honored to be asked to do the thing. I remember going on stage after Vince Gill opened up the event, and I don't think I've ever been so nervous. At least I've not. That was the last time I really remember being nervous, and I had to had one of these telescoping mic stands that it went up in a couple stages, and they didn't have it set up for me, so I had to walk out. And I remember kind of joking to myself, kind of underneath my breath, that I got to set this thing up and kind of be my own roadie. And my hand trembling, trying to do the DeFord Fox chase to the best of my ability. Yeah, it was really kind of a surreal moment that somebody like DeFord Bailey would be recognized with that. And I want to end the story by saying that a year or two ago, Ken Burns came out with the country music documentary, which I was just so eager about. And I had tears in my eyes numerous times because of the attention that he gave to DeFord Bailey. Sometimes it was that they were talking about him. Sometimes a picture would come up. Sometimes his music would be in the background. But they gave him far more attention and recognition than I ever could have dreamed that a harmonica player would have gotten. And it really made me realize that I had a flash in my mind that people really try to comprehend what goes on with the harmonica mostly by clean single notes. And I got it hit me that DeFord Bailey to the harmonica is what Chet Atkins was to the guitar. Yeah. That if you want to appreciate Chet Atkins, you got to recognize all this layers that he had going on. And that's what DeFord Bailey did with the harmonica. So my mission in life is to make sure that anytime great harmonica players are brought up, that I fight and make sure that people know that it's going to be a to the death battle if they show any disrespect to DeFord Bailey. Better not happen when I'm around.
That's why he deserves all the accolades that are ever brought his way. Because he was really the first big star of the Grand Ole Opry. Small in stature. I think he stood only about 4'11". He was under 5 feet. And his harmonica playing is ferocious. It's like huge, just an enormous player. And people just in country music, they don't ever stop to think that the very first big star of the Grand Ole Opry was an African American gentleman.
Right.
I think that's...
and I think you said exactly what I've always believed. He got this huge sound, and I think that it messed up people's heads when this 5 foot, less than 5 foot tall guy walks out on stage in this regal manner, puts his one hand here, holds the harmonica another, and he gets this ferocious, huge sound out of the harmonica. It's a train about to plow you over. And that messes with people's heads because it's a squeaky instrument. It takes skill and know-how to know how to get these big sounds out of it. And Bailey certainly, not only was he able to get the big sounds out of it, but he was able to get what I would say as many as 3 different things happening simultaneously: melody, harmony, and rhythm.
Yeah. Baffling. It's actually scary. To be honest, it's actually scary. Yeah. So, I also want to talk a little bit about your experiences as an instructor, as a teacher. I know that you are on faculty at the folk school in I believe that's in Chicago, not Joliet, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and it's there that you met your compadre Eric Noden.
Yes.
And you have since put together this amazing thing. What before we get to Eric and what you're doing with him, talk to me a little bit about how you started teaching. You sent me something that I just was sort of devastated by in a good way. You sent you doing about 9 different styles of a song. It was a New Orleans song, and you pinpointed all of these different styles, from Cajun music to Chicago blues to a Sonny Terry style. And I mean, I closed my eyes and I was like, that's Sonny Terry. That's amazing. Like, how did you learn all of these and become so proficient and be able to emulate these styles? Most guys have troubles defining their own style, or picking up a few little Walter licks, right? But here you are, you're doing this in all of these different styles. I think that's fascinating, and I'd like to know about how you go about learning and how you go about teaching.
Yes. The record Harmonica Blues of the 20s and 30s. I think it's a pretty influential record here. And this was one of the first records that I got my hands on. I'm looking for it here. Oh, well. And it was on the Yazoo label.
Okay.
And there's a DeFord Bailey song on there. And there's a harmonica train imitation on there. And there's a harmonica rag piece on there. There's a really amazing variety of harmonica styles. And I just really, in the early 1990s, spent a lot of time really listening to that carefully and reverse engineering it kind of sound by sound by sound by sound. I just found it really to be fascinating. Just the train imitation itself. This is something you can do only with the chords on the harmonica. You don't have to have any tongue blocking skills or anything. You just have to be thinking rhythm and know how to relax and open up and resonate to make the train sounds. And these were all styles that, for the most part, seemed to me to be highly endangered species, or maybe extinct species of harmonica stuff, because I think my theory is that aside from Chicago blues, which really peaked in the 1950s with Little Walter and Big Walter and Cotton and Wells and so on. Aside from that, the latest chapter in the diatonic harmonica really occurred in the 1960s. And that kind of happened with Bob Dylan doing his thing, influencing countless people, Butterfield doing his thing in his way, influencing a whole other bunch of people. And Charlie McCoy really kind of was there with that new Nashville sound, with, putting that new harmonica fingerprint on things. But those older styles, except for Chicago blues, I always thought were really like nobody was paying attention to those. And I was enamored, enthralled with the idea that DeFord Bailey could go on stage and be a giant star with just his harmonica and not sing. Or Sonny Terry. I would meet countless people that seen Sonny Terry do his whoopin', hootin' the blues piece, and it forever changed their life. They'll never forget that one man could get so much energy, so much pyrotechnics out of the harmonica. So I really paid attention to it in that way. Lots of careful listening, lots and lots of careful listening and transcribing. I just really developed the discipline on many songs to actually write out in as much detail what was happening. How does the note start? Is it start with a bend? Does it start with a tongue vamp slap? Is the note clean, or is it a little bit dirty? How dirty is the note? Is there a vibrato on the note, a tremolo on the note? Are there any hand effects going on the note? Is there an octave below the note that you hear?
Right.
All these kind of questions. It's not about one note, it's about all these different layers and possibilities. So I started teaching at the Old Town School of Folk Music in 1992 because I needed the money. As I said, I was mostly self-employed, and I had developed pretty quickly as a young harmonica player. I had considerable guitar playing chops at the time, so I wasn't a newcomer to music. I'd been playing blues on the guitar and doing even classical guitar finger picking stuff. So I had kind of the mind of parts happening. And here I am at Chicago, the Old Town School of Folk Music, and I thought, well, Chicago blues. So I'm just going to really teach to me, which was the uniqueness of Chicago blues, which sets it apart from like rock blues, because in my opinion, Chicago blues is predominantly tongue block driven. It's more about a big sound out of the harmonica as opposed to licks so much. And I really just listened and transcribed recordings by Little Walter, Big Walter, Rice Miller, Sonny Boy One, the whole cast of characters. And that really sort of got me in this mindset of understanding what those, let's call them hidden layers are, because a lot of people don't really hear them, or they don't really comprehend what they're hearing when they hear them. And that being able to understand it in my mind gave me the tools that I needed to explain it to other people. That like, if one day you want to sound like Little Walter, you got a tongue block, because you can't play chords on the piano if you're only going to play with one finger.
Right.
This kind of thing. And just like pointing out to people like what the pathways are. So I've kind of come to think of myself as like a mountain climbing tour guide. I just show people, you want to get up higher the mountain, that this is the pathway you got to go. Don't go this way or this way, because you'll be running parallel to where you want to go. And certainly don't turn around and go backwards, because that's not going to get you where you want to be. So I've always had that kind of mindset based upon my background in understanding those very early harmonica styles and Chicago blues, that I think has really made me a good teacher. And I'm very fortunate to say that my class that I've held for numerous years in Germany, Trossingen in Germany, is always one of the quickest to sell out for that workshop that they have there.
Yeah, you've become a harmonica guru and Sherpa.
I sure as heck am having fun. I sure as heck am having fun. And I get to hang out like this with folks like you too. So that's just like the bonus thing.
Well, it's my pleasure. Honestly, I'm honored that you're here. In fact, I just recently watched your interview with Konstantin Reinfeld.
Oh yeah.
What a player that kid is.
Woof. It is what it is. It's one of those things where you would swear it's impossible, but here he is making it look effortless.
Yeah. I was playing in Hamburg last year, about to start we started a tour over there in Hamburg, and we hired a couple of guys out of Hamburg to play in the rhythm section, and they're like, "Have you heard any German harp players?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's this one guy. I think he's from Hamburg." And I'm like, "Konstantin," and they're like, "Reinfeld." They knew who he was.
Yeah.
They were just trying to, I guess, see if I knew who he was. But of course, I mean, he's a monster too. So back to the school. That's where you met Eric.
Yep.
And you guys formed this friendship. You formed this duo, and you're doing classics, and you're doing all of these songs that you love, but you're also writing material for yourselves as well. Is that right?
Our dominant focus is on original songs, original lyrics that are completely and totally, as much as possible, in the flavor and in the spirit of traditional blues, folk, roots music styles. So after we did our first CD called Live, of which we sold quite a few of and actually made some money, Eric said, from here on out, we got to write original stuff. And I'd never really thought about it. So I'm really grateful, because writing original lyrics to songs, it's so much more freedom and so much more power. Unfortunately, the CD market sort of spiraled into nothing, but we have so much fun doing our thing on our terms in our own way with our own music. It was really a smart move, a fantastic recommendation on Eric's part that we do that. We did that. So yeah, we don't tend to do too many covers anymore. I mean, it has to be very special occasion, especially with the copyright things and stuff going on. We really find that the smart route for us is just doing our own material. And I felt like maybe it was 6 years ago, give or take, we got to the point where we realized, wow, we have no problem doing all night long our own material and enjoy the heck out of it. So that felt like a major graduation point for us in our music.
Absolutely. What's your process? Your writing process? The fact that you play guitar proficiently is a big bonus. I mean, to be able to do guitar or piano as a songwriter, opens up everything for you. I always feel, I do play acoustic guitar. It's not my strength. My strength, I feel like, has always been in lyrics. Do you guys have something that you sort of gravitate toward, or one or the other? Are you more of a lyricist, or do you guys both do both, or what's your writing process?
Yes, we do both. And it has changed from record to record. We've done more stuff as a joint, co-written sort of thing. Whereas I think the first record of originals, he had his songs, I had my songs, and I would tell him that, no, I want the guitar part more this way or more that way, or no, you got it perfect or whatever.
Right.
And the idea for us was to create a collection that one song really sounds very different in terms of the flavor, the textures of the harmonica, maybe the way the vocal approach is, harmony singing on it or not, the groove on the guitar. And the idea is that you listen to it and you don't get bored because it doesn't become too predictable with how stuff is. The last record, I personally didn't feel like I had a tremendous amount of inspiration songwriting wise. And what had happened was, as Eric would send me a guitar thing, a guitar groove, where he was like humming a melody. And I, with the assistance actually of my wife, who's a brilliant lyricist and just all in all wordsmith, we really, like the three of us, wrote a lot of stuff together based upon that. There must have been like 4 songs that came about with that process. And I feel like it was a superior way to go because there was no ego involved. It was just this attitude of, okay, we gotta get a record happening for the next tour. So what do we need to do to make the best record possible?
Right.
And that was the answer to that. And I was very, very pleased. I suspect there will be more of that. As a matter of fact, like I just listened to something that he sent me just a few days ago of a future train type of song. We're really big on every record has to have a train flavored song on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm always interested to see what other harmonica players, harmonica front guys are doing with their songwriting. And I've spoken to a number of guys about it. Dennis Grinling, for one, we had a really interesting chat about what his process was. He's like, well, I'm not sure what my process is, but it's important to him to write songs. And I think that it's important for the instrument and for the community, the harmonica, the community, for the people that love harmonica, to have fresh new stuff to listen to, to be inspired by. So I applaud you for that. I think songwriting is always where it's at, even if you're just looking at making money. But it's important, I think, to keep putting more out there for the world.
I agree 100%. It's a heavy thing to talk about, because as a musician, I'm saying this very factually, the opportunities for a touring musician there are none here unless you're doing anything online. In that, with plummeting CD record sales. It's like the dignity that there is left in being a musician is writing your own material. Then at least you can do whatever the heck you want with it, whenever the heck you want with it. So, yeah, and I've when I feel that, it's just like, yeah, that's my song. I can change it, you know. I can change the lyrics if I want. It's my song. I can do whatever I want with it. That's powerful.
It is powerful. Yeah, and you can really, it's interesting to also to see when you write something that is powerful, how it affects an audience, because they can't wait to tell you. And I love that, especially in Europe, by the way.
Yeah.
They're really into the lyrics, and if they can't catch it the first time, they'll come up and they'll ask us on a break or after the show what those lyrics were. I'm always fascinated by that, and I think it's wonderful that they're intently listening and interested.
Yeah, it's almost unnerving because they sit by word. They're following along. It's
Yeah, you can't just write fodder and expect it to go over. You know, it's got to be a well thought out lyric.
yes.
Well, yeah, well placed words, and yeah, as Glenn Fry used to say, you know, it's a lot of elbow grease. You know, that's what it is, man. You just can't let them go. You know, you just got to stay on them. When people want to check out your material, want to buy CDs, hopefully want to buy your music, they can do so at Filisko.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much that connects to everything else. You can find out information about the study songs that I've created that I use when I teach. You can find out about any workshops or live performances. Actually, later on tonight, Eric Noden and I have a live online performance. We're really trying to develop that because I think that the online thing is here to stay. I think that it is always going to be here to some degree. So we're just embracing the situation and trying to make lemonade out of lemons. So that's available on the website or my co-website with Eric Noden, rootsduo.com, for other information.
Right on, right on. And so tell me, if we can get back to some semblance of what we're used to in the music industry, touring mainly, because we know that's how you make a living in the music industry these days. If you want to make any money, you have to tour, right? If you're an artist such as yourself, you got to get out on the road and you have to tour. It's not about selling CDs online anymore necessarily. You got to get out to the people. What is if we all get vaccinated and the world we go back to something normal? What's next for Joe Filisko?
Well, one of the things that I've done during this lockdown time is taken my singing a lot more seriously. So I've studied, and so I'm really looking forward to adding upgraded vocals to the stuff that I'm doing. And I also want to say that, like, I think you got the coolest voice, man. I just love listening to you talk and listening to the music that you have put together with your band, your trio. It inspires me. I mean, I really have to say that I'm hot about even taking the singing more seriously, because the way that I play most of the bluesy styles of the harmonica are sort of like a counterbalance, a counterweight to vocals. You know, vocals is really resonating in your head while the air is coming out of you, and the harmonica is more about resonating in your throat as the air is coming into you. The two really balance each other out. And it took me, it really wasn't until I started studying voice with Richard Bennett that I really began to realize that, wow, I can do this. I don't have to be born with this. I can actually do this. But listening to you in your trio sing, it's just like, wow. I mean, that having a good song and being able to sing it like with those kind of harmonies, as much as I love the harmonica, and there's maybe nobody that loves it more, nothing tops vocal harmonies with, acoustic guitars like what you guys are doing. That is just way too cool.
Thank you.
So more of that. I'm going to just keep working, doing online stuff with Eric Noden. We got some online duo workshops that we're doing, and I'm going to keep developing study materials. As a matter of fact, a new song that I just need to record is called DeFord's Dream. It's a study song to kind of get inroads into understanding that DeFord Bailey lost John fox chase approach to playing the harmonica, kind of the most beginner way possible. So that's essentially it. And I'm doing a lot more cooking at home too and enjoying
I've
the
noticed
daylights.
in your Instagram and Facebook posts. I love it. I'm like, every time I'm like, wow, this guy's a really good cook.
I'm not a good cook. I'm just fearless about it. And it's really nice now that we're not going out to any restaurants anymore. I just kind of got to that point of frustration where I said, well, if I want a good tom kha gai soup, I'm going to have to do it myself. And after I found the root and the lime leaves and everything, then I'm like good to go with it. So
Right on.
yeah.
For you. It's always a good skill to pick up, right? I learned how to cook during COVID myself. I have a stew going, and I'm making some tuna steaks tonight for my for my wife and I. So yeah, some good things have come out of COVID, right? Yeah.
I would say yes. Had such a great time touring, but I got to tell you, for me personally, I don't miss it. It was going in a direction where the work was getting harder, the financial rewards were getting less and less, and as much fun as I had, and making live music with Eric Noden is something that it's hard to compete with how awesome that is, especially somebody who's as delightful as Eric is. The doing it differently and maybe doing it in front of a computer, it ain't so bad, as opposed to not doing it. So
Exactly. And as you said earlier, I think you're 100% right. It's here to stay.
yeah,
It did open up a different opportunity for people to never leave their hometown or wherever they're living and do this, and have a virtual tip jar, and have some income, create a career that way, and yeah, it's shown us some different ways to skin the cat, I think.
agreed.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think our time is up. I don't want to keep you all day because I know you're a very busy guy, but I definitely would like to talk to you more about your singing at some point. We got to reconnect and talk about your career now as a, taking singing more seriously and into your bag of tricks, and I'm just fascinated by that, being a singer. I love singers. I think that's what made me like the harmonica so much, because it's so much like a voice. It's
Oh yeah.
expressive, and I know that's why I connect with it so much. So I'm not surprised that you're singing and singing more. I mean, that's where your ear is tuned to that sort of thing.
Well, I know what I like, and if it's a good song with good singing and it's got a good groove, it's hard to beat. I mean, having harmonica on it too could be a bonus, but those are the main priorities. So,
Right on.
and we should connect because I'm truly a fan. I truly am a fan. I think that what you guys got going as a trio is just bad to the bone. I'm a little, I'm not a little, I'm embarrassed. I haven't been more familiar with what you all have had going. I remember when Derek talked about getting you in the band there, and he was talking you up, and I thought that's great. They got a good fan. I didn't have any. I just wasn't familiar with you, but hearing you play, of which you're playing, you really know how to shred on that thing. It's just
Thanks.
it's very Butterfield like to me, but it's right there. It's in tune, it's in time, and it kicks butt. I love it.
Thank you. I'm going to write all of that down, and that you said that, it makes me feel so good. I'm going to look at it when I'm feeling bad about myself. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your time. This has just been a real treat for me to spend an hour with you today. And thanks on behalf of all the Harpslingers out there that are checking out the show. We have to do this again sometime, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, I'm cool with it, and we should stay in touch. You know how to reach me if you need me, and let's chat more. And you did say something that really touches me deeply, and that is the kind words that you had about DeFord Bailey. Nobody better say anything negative or sort of second-class citizen about DeFord Bailey or his harmonica playing, or they're going to see my wrath.
You heard it here, folks. And if you haven't checked out DeFord Bailey, get to it, because it's fascinating harmonica playing. It's just fascinating.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Chet Atkins of the harmonica.
Yeah, that's a great, great way to put it. Great way to put it, actually. Both Nashville guys, There you go. Interesting. All right, brother. Peace and love to you. Stay warm in Joliet, Illinois. I'm an Illinois boy, by the way.
I know that. Chester. Holy smoke.
I
just thought there were too many things that were like, I can't believe that I haven't gotten to know this guy. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, well.
And I look at the videos of you all in Europe, and I see myself and Eric. We do, it's just the same thing, except the venues we play are much smaller than anything that you're doing, but it's the same flavor kind of thing happening. So
absolutely. Well, we will connect. Maybe we'll write a song or something. That would be fun.
I like that.
Right on, dude. All right.
All right.
Peace and love to you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.